My name is Davis Williams, I'm 28 years old, and I work in the food and beverage industry. Although I say food and beverage industry, I'm not a site employee. I work in an office, involved in sales promotion. Our department develops plans to increase sales in stores and negotiates with clients who collaborate with us. I joined this company right after graduating high school and have been working in this department for 10 years. I am the beginning of my career, being a novice with scant knowledge and inadequate abilities of a high school graduate. It was not easy for me to keep up with my colleagues, most of whom had higher education. However, now, having marked my 10-year anniversary, I'm responsible for many individual tasks and no longer feel disadvantaged. I think I can be trusted to work independently. Every morning I come to the office 30 minutes before the start of the workday to calmly get to work. I review today's tasks, lay out documents that came in my absence on the desks of responsible employees. This has become a habit for me, a kind of morning ritual that I cannot give up. Most people come about 10 minutes before the start of work, so I try to complete these tasks by then. Good morning, Davis. Thank you. As always, my colleague and supervisor Liam usually greets me. He thanks me for laying out the documents in advance, but since I'm just trying not to create inconveniences for myself, I feel a bit awkward about his gratitude. Then my boss Taylor Smith comes to work. Taylor is a supervisor 10 years older than me who transferred from another department last year. I've been in the sales promotion department longer, so we often work together as a pair. However, his mood changes, and his attitude depends on the person. He's not very popular. This time, plopping into a chair with a gloomy look, he just said, "Hey, go make some coffee." "Good morning. Regular coffee will do." I replied easily and went to the kitchen to make coffee. "Robert, you could do it without the sour face," Liam noted, who also came to make himself coffee. "He's clearly irritated by the praise for you." "Really?" "He's always like that," I replied as we made coffee for ourselves. "By the way, Liam, after your proposal was accepted yesterday, he dumped a bunch of different work on me that needs to be finished today. It's already crossing boundaries." "What? Abuse?" Liam was surprised, and I just shrugged. I thought he was just busy and asked me to help. Liam laughed. "You really are naive." At that moment, Taylor called out to me, "Hey, sorry for making you wait. Just put the coffee over there." He didn't even look up from the computer. Seeing this, Liam gave me an understanding look. But this is typical behavior for Taylor, so don't mind it. It's better not to bother him on a bad day. I calmly got to work. Although when Taylor first transferred to our department, he wasn't so unapproachable. "I'm not very familiar with your department's work, so please help me," he would say, but once, after the boss praised me for a well-compiled report in front of colleagues, Taylor's attitude towards me changed dramatically. Ever since the leadership started praising and encouraging me, he became more aggressive. As soon as the higher-ups left, Taylor would frown, dump work on me and snipe, "Here, take this little task. And don't forget to put my name on it. Or why do they only praise you? You're not that smart." He clearly took a dislike to me after that incident. Although we often worked together, all I could do was put up with it and get along with him. After all, I really liked my job otherwise, except for the difficulties with this nasty boss. The tiring commute on crowded transport there and back was an inevitable evil in a big city. One evening after work, standing by the doors in a packed car, I noticed a slender black-haired woman opposite me. Her appearance betrayed a foreign origin. "What a beautiful black mane," I thought absent-mindedly, when I noticed that she started swaying, pressing her palm to her forehead and lowering her head. Her face turned pale. Looking at her, I became worried. I didn't want her to faint. "Are you okay?" I asked, but she only nodded, "Are you okay?" I asked, but she only nodded, though she looked very unwell. I quickly asked a woman standing next to her to switch places. "Hold on, we're getting off at the next station," I told the stranger, helping her up. After getting off at the station, I helped the woman out of the car. She could barely stand on her feet and instinctively clung to me to avoid falling. We made it to a bench, and the stranger gratefully accepted water and a jacket offered by bystanders. An employee who ran up offered to take her to the medical room. "Can you walk? I'll support you." I translated his words into English, and the woman nodded. At that moment, a second employee arrived with a wheelchair, and we headed to the medical room, but even after coming to and lying on the cot, the stranger was still pale, her hands icy cold. The station workers offered to call an ambulance. The concerned woman gripped my hand tightly. "My name is Amelia. I just arrived in America and don't understand the language well." "Thank you for helping," she said in English. "No need to thank me, I'm glad I could help," I replied. "By the way, from your accent I thought you were from Europe. Where are you from?" "Germany," came the answer, and I couldn't help but laugh. "Sorry for laughing. I should have just asked what language would be more convenient for you to explain in," I said in German. "Wow, you speak German." Amelia was surprised. After some time, she felt better and the doctors allowed her to go home. I offered to take Amelia by taxi. On the way, we briefly introduced ourselves and exchanged business cards. It turned out that Amelia worked for a major brewing company that was planning to enter the American market. And I worked in a related area, the food and beverage industry. The conversation quickly turned to work, and by the time we arrived at Amelia's home, we had managed to discuss a lot. "Let's continue the conversation over dinner. I'll call you when I find a free evening," Amelia suggested. "That would be great," I agreed, and we parted ways. A few days later, we met at a restaurant. The conversation turned to work again and quickly immersed itself in professional details. The more we discussed, the clearer it became that our companies could profitably collaborate. "I really want to do a joint project with your company. What do you think?" Amelia finally asked. "Of course, I can't make such decisions alone," I replied. "But the more we talk, the more ideas come to my mind. I think by joining forces we would both gain a lot." The next day, I reported to my boss about the conversation with Amelia and the possibility of collaborating with her German brewing company. He was impressed by the prospects. "Sounds good, Robert. Try to push this idea forward." He approved. I told Amelia about the leadership's reaction, and we continued to discuss the details. Soon I prepared the necessary documents and passed them up to management. Instructions soon came from above to proceed further with this promising project. The company mobilized resources to ensure the deal's success, and a project group was formed. Since I had promoted this idea from the very beginning, I was appointed as the group's leader. This was my first experience managing such a large-scale project. But with the support of colleagues and leadership, I proceeded with negotiations with Amelia. However, something unexpected happened soon. While the company was excited about the prospects of a major deal, there was one person who was displeased by it. It was my boss Taylor. "Are you sure you can handle it? Can you pull off such a big deal with just a high school diploma? Hand over the leadership to a prestigious university graduate, like me," he declared, snatching the documents from me, and headed to talk to the leadership about changing the project leader. Here is the continued text broken into paragraphs. Taylor had a rather long conversation with my immediate supervisor behind closed doors. When he returned to the department, he looked weary. "Sorry, Davis, this was your project initially. Thank you for pushing it this far," he patted me on the shoulder. "But I'm handing over the reins to Taylor. Be ready to transfer all materials to him." He then announced to the rest of the team that I would no longer be leading the project. I didn't expect that I would not only be removed from the leadership position, but completely excluded from working on the deal. Apparently, the supervisor was forced to do this, since I was the only one who could take over Taylor's current position. But essentially, it was he who convinced the leadership that a prestigious university graduate, not someone with just a high school education like me, should lead the project. Although the situation was offensive, I told myself that my abilities were still insufficient, and focused on the new responsibilities. Later, my colleague Jack, who was part of the project group, told an interesting story. It turned out that Taylor not only disliked me, but also pursued personal motives by taking over the project leadership from me. Rumor had it that he had a weakness for foreign women, often frequented pubs where visiting girls worked part-time, and here, when the opportunity arose to work in close contact with the attractive German Amelia, Taylor grabbed this chance. According to Jack, he literally snatched the project leadership from me in order to be closer to Amelia himself. Hearing this story, I was disappointed but not too surprised. Such a dismissive attitude from Taylor was common for me. From the very beginning, as soon as the leadership started praising my work, his friendliness turned to coldness and disdain. It seemed he could not come to terms with the fact that I, a mere high school graduate, was valued more than him, a university prodigy, that I decided not to take the situation too close to heart and focus on my new responsibilities. After all, if it weren't for the support of the leadership, I would not have been appointed the leader of such a major project in the first place. Apparently, my abilities still did not quite meet the required level. Meanwhile, Taylor brilliantly led the negotiations with Amelia and her company. There were rumors that their business meetings often dragged on late into the night and spilled over into an informal setting. No wonder the project was progressing successfully. Taylor was clearly striving to make the best impression on Amelia. After a couple of months, the parties finally reached an agreement on very favorable terms for our company. Taylor presented a brilliant strategy for bringing German beer to the American market. The leadership was delighted, and he himself was in line for a solid monetary reward and potential promotion. On the day when the successful completion of the deal was officially announced, Taylor raised his arms in a victorious gesture right in the middle of the department. He was happy and clearly proud of himself. Turning to me, he remarked with a smirk, "Well, Davis, see what a real professional is capable of. This is not something you could handle." I nodded restrainedly, saying nothing. Indeed, Taylor had handled this deal masterfully. Perhaps I would not have been up to the task. But was that a reason for such blatant self-satisfaction and disdain? However, I decided not to spoil this day with quarrels. After all, the success of the deal benefited the entire company, not just Taylor. I sincerely rejoiced for my colleagues and enthusiastically took on new tasks. In the evening, as I was leaving the office, I bumped into Taylor in the hallway. "Hey, Davis, I have a question for you," he said, his tone surprisingly friendly. "What do you think about going to a bar with me and a few colleagues to celebrate the successful deal?" I was a bit taken aback by the sudden change in his attitude, but agreed. Maybe this was his way of making amends. At the bar, the mood was festive. Taylor was in a great mood, joking and laughing with everyone. I tried to relax and enjoy the celebration as well. But at some point, I noticed Taylor slip away from the group. Curious, I decided to follow him discreetly. I found him in a quieter corner of the bar, engaged in an intimate conversation with a young woman. From the way they were leaning in close to each other, it was clear they knew each other well. My colleague Jack's rumor suddenly made perfect sense. Feeling both disappointed and unsurprised, I quietly returned to the group. I decided it was best not to confront Taylor about his behavior. After all, it was his personal life, and I had no right to judge. The celebration continued late into the night. As I was getting ready to leave, Taylor approached me again, this time with a more serious expression. "Davis, can I talk to you for a moment?" he asked, leading me to a quieter corner. "Look, I know I haven't been the easiest person to work with lately," he began. "I want you to know that I really respect your abilities and the hard work you've put in. I was wrong to try and take the project away from you." I was taken aback by his sudden change of heart. "Thank you, Taylor. I appreciate you saying that. And I also want to apologize for my behavior towards you in general," he continued. "It's not an excuse, but I've been going through some personal issues that have affected my mood and attitude. I took it out on you unfairly." I nodded, accepting his apology. "I understand. No hard feelings." Taylor smiled, seeming relieved. "I'm glad we could clear the air. I'd like us to start fresh, if that's alright with you. Of course, I replied, shaking his outstretched hand. As I left the bar that night, I couldn't help but feel a sense of cautious optimism. Maybe Taylor had genuinely turned over a new leaf. I decided to give him the benefit of the doubt and see how things played out. In the following weeks, Taylor's behavior towards me did indeed improve significantly. He was more collaborative, less critical, and even sought my input on certain matters. I couldn't help but wonder if his change of heart had anything to do with the successful completion of the German beer project. One day, Taylor called me into his office. "Davis, I wanted to let you know that the leadership is very impressed with your work on that last project. They're considering promoting you to a managerial position." I was stunned. "Really? That's incredible news." Taylor nodded. "You've more than earned it. You've really proven yourself, despite the initial setback. I'm proud of you." I thanked him sincerely, feeling a sense of vindication. It seemed that Taylor had finally come to respect my abilities, and I was grateful for the opportunity to prove myself further. In the months that followed, I thrived in my new managerial role. Taylor and I continued to work closely together, and our relationship had transformed into a genuine partnership. I couldn't help but feel grateful for the chance to redeem myself and show what I was capable of. As for Amelia, we stayed in touch and occasionally met up for professional discussions. But our relationship remained strictly business, and I never pursued anything more. I was content focusing on my career and the positive changes happening within the company. Looking back, I realized that the challenges I faced with Taylor ultimately made me a stronger and more resilient professional. It was a valuable lesson in perseverance and the importance of not letting others' perceptions define your own worth. I'm grateful for the support of my colleagues and the faith the leadership placed in me. It's a testament to the fact that with hard work and dedication, even a high school graduate can succeed in the corporate world. Looking back, I realized that the challenges I faced with Taylor ultimately made me a stronger and more resilient professional. It was a valuable lesson in perseverance and the importance of not letting others' perceptions define your own worth. I'm grateful for the support of my colleagues and the faith the leadership placed in me. It's a testament to the fact that with hard work and dedication, even a high school graduate can succeed in the corporate world. As I reflect on my journey, I can't help but feel a sense of pride in how far I've come. From the insecure high school graduate struggling to keep up, to the respected manager leading major projects, it's been a remarkable transformation. Of course, the road wasn't always smooth. Taylor's initial hostility and attempts to undermine me were deeply frustrating. But looking back, I realized that his behavior said more about his own insecurities than it did about my abilities. In the end, I'm grateful that I didn't let his negativity get me down. I stayed focused, continued to excel at my work, and proved my worth to the company. And when Taylor finally came around and acknowledged my capabilities, it felt like a hard-won victory. Now, as I settle into my new managerial role, I'm excited for the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead. I know that I still have a lot to learn, but I feel more confident than ever in my ability to succeed. One thing I've learned is the importance of maintaining a positive attitude, even in the face of adversity. It would have been easy to become embittered by Taylor's behavior, but I chose to rise above it. And I believe that's a big part of why I'm where I am today. As for my relationship with Amelia, it remains a professional one. While we get along well and enjoy our conversations, I've decided to keep things strictly business. My focus is on my career, and I don't want to complicate things by getting involved in a personal relationship. Overall, I feel incredibly grateful for the path my life has taken. It hasn't always been easy, but the hard-won lessons and experiences have made me the person I am today. I'm excited to see what the future holds, and I'm ready to tackle any challenges that come my way.